Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I am so excited to be bringing you single mother romances. So excited for this. This is actually a trope I absolutely love. I love both single dad and single mom romances. I really just think they always make me smile. They make my heart so warm and fuzzy. I love single dads because I love seeing a man taking care of babies, and I love single moms because I love seeing a man who maybe never planned to have kids, wasn't expecting it, and just gets thrown into it, and then also is taking care of children and being beautiful. I'm also so excited because between the time that Becky, who we're collabing on this video today, so hi Becky, thanks so much for asking me to collab with you. Between the time she asked me to do this video and now, I actually read another absolutely beautiful single mom romance that I'm so excited to add in. So we're going to dive right into this, all right? First off, we're going to start with one that no one will be surprised that I'm recommending, so we're just going to get it out of the way, but it is my top single mother romance. She's also a widow in this one, and that is The Takeover by T.L. Swan. This is in my top 3 books of all time that I've ever read. I reread it quite generously and quite often, and it still makes me cry and tears me up. Even if I am just annotating it to send off to someone, I cry every time. So this one is about Claire. She has 3 sons, and she is running the business that her and her husband had together. And in the beginning of this, she gets approached by Tristan Miles, who is a part of the Miles Media Group, and they're looking to acquire her company, and she tells him to fuck off. Then she runs into him a few weeks later at a conference I think they're in the UK when they have this meeting. And they end up having a weekend-long stand where they actually have the best time. They laugh together. It's her having sex for the first time since her husband's died. And they both are falling for each other. But she never meant for this to be more than a weekend. And Tristan's kind of like, why can't we have more? And she's like, because I have kids. And you don't understand what it is to take that on. Like, I can't just play fast and loose with boyfriends. Like, I need someone who's committed. And Tristan is like, it can't be that hard. Let's do it. And then he meets her kids and has quite a disastrous first meeting with them. And he's like, I can't handle it. I can't do it. But he's called the Takeover King for a specific reason. And it's because he goes all in whenever he sees someone that he wants. And he not only wants Claire, he wants her boys too. And this is one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read. I adore it with my whole heart and soul. And yeah, highly recommend. Then we have Rafe by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This single mother is a doctor, and she has 2 twin girls, which of course that's what twins mean. She has a set of twins. She's a divorced mom, and she needs a nanny, and she ends up hiring a buff male nanny named Rafe, who becomes a live-in nanny, and a relationship begins between the 2 of them. So not too much to say, like that is the plot, that's how it goes. This one doesn't have a crazy 3rd act breakup or anything like that. It was just very sweet. Their chemistry is great, really good communication and sexiness between them, and he's absolutely adorable with the children, so highly recommend. Next, we have one of 2 books that I'll be recommending that are actually, the women are like the guardians of these children. So they didn't birth them, but the story progresses as if they are a single mom. And I actually have 2 like that on this list that I wanted to share because you can be a mom in different ways other than just having given birth to the children. Of course, we all know that. And I wanted to represent other kinds of motherhood in this. So the first one I want to recommend is Sustained by Emma Chase. And this one involves an aunt who's a very young aunt. She's in her early 20s, like still like kind of in college age, and I think it's her brother and sister-in-law, they die in a car accident, and she is left as the single guardian of 6 orphaned children, ranging in all ages, and she is completely overwhelmed. And in the beginning of this book, which by the way is told completely from the hero's point of view, Jake, he gets pickpocketed by this little punk, and he also, I think, like, yeah, so he gets pickpocketed, and he ends up taking him home and discovering that he has a hot aunt, and that he is a troubled kid because he's an orphan, and it's very difficult. Then I can't remember if it's a couple days or a week later, he gets a call that this kid is in trouble for trying to take a joyride, and he's a lawyer, so he had given his card and he volunteers to help, and he just gets sucked deeper and deeper into this family, and it's really beautiful. But he also just feels so unprepared to date a woman who has 6 kids, and he never even wanted kids in his life. So what is this? What's happening? But it's a really beautiful story between these two, and I love it. Like I said, I love that it's told from the hero's point of view only, and I just think that is a really unique thing. There are a few books out there that are like that, but not a ton. Yeah, it's all from his POV, and I love it. All right, next up we have Tie Me Down by Melanie Harlow. This one is kind of a like friends to lovers scenario. So the heroine has her young son, and she goes back to her hometown, I believe to help with her father, or else they've died and she's taking over the house that they were in. I think that's what it is, because I think the hero is taking care of the parent who has dementia. And the heroine ends up with this hero helping her to renovate the home so that she can sell it. I think that's what's going on. And then they start having something going on between the two of them. And the hero in this one is very nervous about a relationship. He doesn't know if he'll be good at it. And so it has kind of that drama going on. But there is some rope used in this. It isn't called Tie Me Down for nothing. But this is a really beautiful relationship between them. Melanie Harlow does single parents really well. She writes that really well. Then we have another Emma Chase. I forgot this. I could have written these two together. There is Getting Played by Emma Chase. So this one is not only a single mom who already has a son, but it's also a surprise baby at the same time. She happens to have a night away from her kid, and she goes to a bar with her friends, and there's a hot drummer, and they have a one-night stand, and then wham bam, 8 months later, she goes to parent-teacher conferences and discovers that her son's math teacher is the same man who knocked her up, and she wasn't able to get a hold of him because she didn't have his information afterwards. So this one was very cute. It has 2 scenarios I really like, where she's already a single mom, as well as it was a surprise baby through like no fault of her own. And then he of course wants to be involved and be there, and it's a fun time. So there we go. All right, now we have a couple historicals to share. So we have The Devil's Daughter by Lisa Kleypas. This one is about Phoebe, who is the daughter of the devil himself, Lord St. Vincent, and West Ravenel, who is the brother and the brother and the cousin of the Ravenels that we've been reading about in the series so far. And they end up meeting up. I can't remember if there's like a house party or why we end up running into each other. But West apparently was a bully to her deceased husband back in boarding school, although it may not be as dramatic as she feels that it is, but she is very tender and sore about the loss of her husband, who she just adored. But he was a very sickly man, and he didn't live long into their marriage. But they do have 2 little boys. They have 2 little boys. And so I think it is that she's staying with her family for a little bit. And, you know, she is harboring a lot of ill feelings toward West after hearing stories about how they'd been at school. But she sees that not only is he a much different man now, he has changed so much over the course of this series of like who he was before. He had actually like stopped drinking. He lost some weight. He's become kind of like a farmer because he's been helping with the Ravenel like businesses and stuff. And so he's definitely grown up a lot, and their chemistry together is just amazing. And he's great with their kids. And I loved watching how, you know, how she comes to recognize the changes that he's had, and that he really could be a really good man for her to be with now, if she can get over the fact that he maybe was a bully when he was young. But you know what? Sometimes people are bullies, and it's not like the horrible evil kind. You know, sometimes it's just teasing, but it really hurts the person that it's happening to, as we know, those of us who've been bullied. But I really like how it's dealt with in this. You know, Lisa Kleypas doesn't steer us wrong, for sure. Then I also have To Beguile a Beast by Elizabeth Hoyt to share. This one has a single mom who she was a mistress to a very rich man. He's very controlling and abusive, and she's able to make her escape, and she gets the heads up from I can't remember if it's her friend or like a confidant, but lets her know that there's a place where she could be the housekeeper. So there is this reclusive Sir Alistair Munro who has been hiding away in his castle since he got hurt in the colonies. And so Helen Fitzwilliam, she shows up there to take this job as being his housekeeper. And she is a little bit intimidated by him and scared, but she needs to do this for the safety of her children. She needed to get away. She needed to not be relying on the man who had, you know, been her provider for all these years, but was very dangerous and may try to take her children away from her if she ever displeased him. And so she's willing to do whatever she has to do, including wheedle her way into this man's good graces and into his heart. And it's beautiful. Elizabeth Hoyt is very talented. Then we have Grieved Loss by Adelaide Forrest. This is one that I've talked about quite a bit recently, actually. This is book 3 in the Bellani Crime Syndicate, and this one is about a widow named, oh shoot, I always forget her name, Calla, and our hero's name is Riker, and he is a kind of fix-it person, or like a bruiser for the Bellani Crime Syndicate, and he's had his eye on Calla for many years, even when she was still married, but he was biding his time, and he actually had told her husband at one point, if you aren't worthy of your wife, I will take her from you. And he's not kidding at all. Dead serious that he would do this. So it's really a bonkers story because she's now been a widow for a year. Her husband died, not in any way anything that the hero did, because he knows if he was responsible for this man's death, then he would have no chance of winning her over. So he actually isn't responsible for it at all. But her husband was involved in some bad things, so it's not a surprise that he would die eventually. So Riker has made his plans and laid out everything, and it's finally time for him to make her his, and he does. In a big way, and in a controlling way that may drive some people crazy, but I thought it was absolutely bonkers and brilliant, and this was a 5-star read for me when I read it. He's also pierced, he's also very sexy, and it's yummy. It's yummy. Then we have Breaking the Speed Limit by Melanie Moreland. Now this one I'm a little fuzzy on because it's been just a little while, but I saw that she's finally releasing book 4 in this series, so it reminded me of these books when I was making this list. But this one is also about a heroine who's kind of on the run from an abusive ex in some way, or else he's just like, again, I can't quite remember why she is on the run so much, but I think that's why. And she ends up in this small town and takes kind of a job for part-time because her like car breaks down and needs to get fixed by Reynolds Restoration, which is where our hero works. And so he's the one who actually comes out to help her, and he ends up providing some work for her to help out, and he meets her kid, and they're both so just adorable with it all. And it's just cute. Like, it's just cute. I love this series by Melanie Moreland. It's really beautiful, and their romance is adorable. We have Rewriting the Stars by Claire Kingsley. This is book 6 in the Bailey Brothers series. This is a like Romeo and Juliet scenario. It's a forbidden romance because we have the Bailey brothers who are at odds with the Haven family, which, by the way, Claire Kingsley has finished writing a couple of the Haven books now, and I'm so excited for them to start coming out. Like, so excited. It's going to be brilliant. But she is back in town with her little boy, and she knows that having a relationship with him is strictly forbidden, but they've had kind of this texting relationship for a while, and now that she's like back in town, they start running into each other, and their chemistry is just crazy. It's just totally blowing up, and they don't know how long they're going to be able to hide it from their families, and if their families are going to be okay with them being together. Spoiler alert, they're not too happy about it. They're not too excited, but it's going to be okay. Then we have the second one that involves kind of an adopted mother in this case. So this one is The White Lily by Juliet Cross. I believe this one is book 3 in her Vampire Blood series. And this one involves Brenolyn, who is a school teacher who has been taking care of orphans who are left behind by the war that's been happening in this world. I do recommend you start with The Black Lily to read your way through these. They aren't really standalone ones, but I really loved this because I love how not only does Brenolyn take on these orphans, which of course there's 7 orphans that she takes on, because this is a play on Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and the children are like the 7 dwarves in this. They're ranging in all different ages, and she is willing even to try to offer herself to a vampire lord, the King Dominic, a vampire, the Duke of Winterhill. Yeah, Frederick, the Duke of Winterhill. Sorry, King Dominic is someone else. I'm sorry, reading on the back here. To discover information about him for the Black Lily. She's willing to spy on him, but he ends up being obsessed with her and wanting to take care of her, and he's going to help with the children as well, and it just ends up being a warm and fuzzy, beautiful book. Although this is a bit of a darker story, there is children in danger. There are vampires that are pretty vicious, as well as sexy ones, but there's some pretty vicious and scary ones as well. So this isn't as light and fluffy as you may be expecting if you've read her Stay a Spell books. So I just want to put that out there. But the Vampire Blood series is 100% a series that I think people sleep on more than they should, because it's a beautiful series. I love it so much. And then the last one that I want to recommend, which was a recent read, and it was a 6-star read, and was the one that I was so happy to add to this list, and that is Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. And this is about a young widowed mother who, because of her husband's will, she actually shares custody with her in-laws, and they want to take her children away from her. And so she enlists a rogue who is the brother of a friend to be her fake fiance, to hopefully try to assuage the demands of her in-laws, and to hopefully be able to keep her children. And this rogue, Nate, he really doesn't want anything to do with it, but he owes her a favor, and she also offers to pay him, and he does have some debts that he owes, and he doesn't think he can get help from his brother to cover them, so he offers to help. And to be her fake fiance, he agrees to come and stay at her home, like, while these relatives are visiting, to try to prove that he will be a good, stepfather, and that he would do that. And the more that he pretends to be that, the more that he finds that he actually cares for these kids, and especially for their mother as well. And the story was just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, the way that he falls for the kids just broke my heart. They're very little kids too. And the way that their romance grew, and the way that they just respect and adore each other, was just heart-melting. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. So highly recommend, 6-star read from me. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to Becky for asking me to collab with her. If you are a mother, happy Mother's Day, early, late. I don't know when Mother's Day is this year off the top of my head, but happy Mother's Day to you. And thank you so much for watching this video, friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.